Hello friends, welcome back to our CAP learning series. In episode 5, we basically created a CAP HANA Fury-based element-based application. It's an end-to-end application where we use the HANA Cloud as the database. And we tested this application all the way locally from VS Code without deploying this application to BTP. In this episode 6, what the plan is to attach the security, which is authentication as well as authorization. And also we'll face certain issues, which is an interim BTP issue that while I'm recording this video, I'm encountering this, and it probably the trial account only. So, I mean, this video will talk about the alternate way to how to test this application end to end. So lots of information this video will contain for you. So being a beginner, friendly this tutorial, hopefully it will be useful to you. So stay tuned till the end. And let's head over to the VS Code to start our development. So this is the repository which we last time created in episode 5. So we'll use the same repository, copy it. Before that, I would like to call out these particular steps that we're going to follow in this episode. Lots of steps to follow in this security or episode 6 rather. So first thing is clone the repository. So let's go to our VS Code and just clone the command git clone and paste this repository. It will clone this data. So the next step it says add the missing artifacts. So the point is, well, this application been cloned, so certain important files are missing. One of the file is the private.json, CDS private.json. That file is containing the HANA HDI details. Using that, application is able to test or run this application locally, but getting the data all the way from the backend HANA system. So that file is missing because of the security reason. Same reason applies to default environment.json file, which is also missing in the app folder. Side by side, there are a lot of dependencies, which is in the package.json we have mentioned earlier. So those dependencies also missing. And in here also in the package.json, we have the Approuter. So this all missing. So let's quickly, get those artifacts to start our development. To start with, let's get into this application repository or the folder that is called CAP bookshop, and then run npm install. So that will run all the dependencies from the package.json. Once it's installed, get into the folder called app. I'm concatenating multiple CLI commands, and then basically we need to again run the command npi install, and this particular command will then install within app folder the package.json, and once it is done, come out of this folder cd ... So let's run. I'm pausing this video. It will take a significant amount of time to download all the dependencies. Okay, so the node modules now installed the dependencies. So let's now create the CDS private JSON file which is missing, and for that we need to deploy once again this database artifacts, which is over here, the data and the corresponding schema.cds. And for that you need to run this command, which is already available, and that is on the script command that is called the hdeploy. Okay, so run this command npm run hdeploy. So that is basically deploy once again the CDS artifacts to HDI, but you have to make sure these prerequisites that the HANA instance is up and running, and also the HDI is already created as I've shown in the episode 5. So it's now deployed back, and you can see this CDS rc private.json file created with all the HANA instance information. And it's also ready for this testing with the profile as hybrid. But in app folder also we need this default environment.json, and that is possible by running this command cds add feature Approuter. We already executed this command in episode 5, and those artifacts like security and xsapp.json along with the default environment.json been created. But as I explained, in Git ignore those default and private JSON was missing. So let's add this default once again by running this Approuter. It will not make an impact. It will just create the default environment.json as you have seen with the destination details. All right, so everything is as before. So we can run CDS watch with addition like profile hybrid. So that will basically check this private.json details, and it will able to fetch the HANA database records or tables while testing this application. So as you can see, now the application is running once again to 4004, but couple of things. The first, this XSU instance bound to application, but this is as this is configured, but it is not recommended in production because the application is not actually using XSUAA, which is not recommended in production version, and this error will be removed soon. So if I now run this 4004, this static page is available, and I can see the books and authors as I used to see before. So all good. So let's start with our authentication. That's the plan. Go to service folder, go to the catalog service, and let's first add something called records. And I want to add authenticated user. What will happen? I'm just telling this particular authors can access only the authenticated users only. So let's save it. We are already running the CDS watch. So it will again restart the server, and again it is available 4004. Now if I just click on authors, it says that 401 unauthorized, but if I go to the books entity, I'm able to still see the data as I used to. So that means my authors entity is actually locked by an authenticated user only. Okay, so that is the authentication, and let's put certain authorization now. So for that, now let's add the restriction on this books entity, which says that I want to make a grant for the read operation, but all the currencies will not be displayed, but it will be filtering only for the USD. So let's save it, and again the server will up and running soon. Let's check this out. And go to books, and what I'm expecting now, only the USD currencies to be filtered. Let's say USD and USD, but no more the GBP or Japanese yen being shown. All right, so now let's put one more thing. Like this time we added authenticated user. Let's add one more new role here, and I want to say this is only for the USA user. Okay, so kind of a role I have just added, a custom role that only the USA user will be able to access this books entity only for the currency USD. So kind of an authorization and authentication, it's both added, right? So if I now go there, so it will basically stop displaying books entity also. The reason being, we just added this USA role, and in my current user ID, this role is missing. That's why it is failing to authenticate. So let's check now this step 2 is complete. We had already added this authentication things, and already we have added authorization also, tested the application, and we have checked the impact. So let's move on to step 3, and this time we'll be compiling this catalog service, and we'll adjust the security access security file, and also add the OAuth 2 configuration. I think we need to correct this one. The file name should be security.json. Okay, so let's copy this command, and we'll just go back to this and paste it. So what is happening? CDS compile service. So that means under service, this catalog service CDS will be available, which will be compiled to get all the roles that you have just added, for example, US user, and that will be just added to the XSUAA security.json after compilation. So let's do this, and let's go back to security.json, and you now see this all things are added. So now we have to add one more thing first, and that is the XS app name, and we can put something like cap XS app. Also we need to add something called tenant mode. So tenant mode is dedicated, and XS app name we have just added. So let's add the OAuth configuration also this time. So in the OAuth configuration to add, so you can go down to this role templates, put a comma, and then you add this particular code snippet. Why OAuth2 configuration? Because we are using Approuter, and that will initiate the OAuth flow, which will get the token, which is a JOT token or JSON token, and it will use this XSUAA service to create or generate the token. And that's the reason this configuration is needed. And to access or to enter the user credentials, the call will redirect to this URI, which we have mentioned over here. So if we are testing locally in VS Code, this is the URI will be used, localhost 5000 port. But if you develop this application entirely in Business Application Studio, then the top level URI will be considered. That's good. So the next step is the next 4. Step 4 will be creating this service, which is the XSUAA service, and that will be used by the Approuter to get the JOT token and for the authentication purpose. So, and we'll also add a default key to it. So let's complete these 2 things. So let's run this command, which is a cf, then create service. XSUAA is the type, application is the plan, and cap XSUAA. Any name you can give, but ideally we should give the name as per the mt.yml, but we'll adjust later if required. So application cap XSUAA -auth, right? So this is what we want to add, followed by the file that we have just created. Run it, and it will create a service. If everything fine, it's okay, means it's created. So next is we have to create the service key, because the XSUAA service we have just created, that if we want to use it, XSUAA cap XSUAA -auth, and then the key is default, so that it will create a default key. So it's also created. So that means now this particular 2 things done. Next is like we have to link this XSUAA to our private JSON, and that because for this private JSON currently we have only the HANA, so that the application is able to link to the HANA database running from locally. Similarly, the caps XSUAA service which we have just created, it's actually residing in the cloud. So to access this XSUAA, we need to link the similar sort of information in this file. So for that, we'll be running cds bind command -2, and then type is XSUAA. Not that. That's a cap XSUAA -auth. Default is the key. So what will happen? This will basically link that this particular XSUAA application details in this particular file. So let's run. It's retrieving data from cloud against this cap XSUAA auth with the default key, and it will find it because we have just created. So it will be able to update these details over here. Let's scroll down a little, and you will see now this all added. So now this application will be able to link, or rather call or get the details whatever it needs for authentication while running locally. That's all the intention. So the next step is the step 5, where we'll just adjust the XSApp.json and enable the authentication route. So what happened when we added the Approuter, this file been added, and initially we tried not to use authentication to make it simpler, and we set it to none, but this episode will set it back to route. And we also add a property called authentication type, and the value should be XSUAA. And the same thing, I need to attach another route, which is a service API. The service API is actually linked to default environment.json. So here is the service API, which will link to a route back to 4004. Okay, so let's save this all. And now we have to run the CDS service. Not only that, we also have to ensure that Approuter is running. Now this to run, we have to run this command npm start along with or together. Okay, so I think this is already running. Let's stop it. Now we'll be doing this by cds bind command, which can link an executable, and that is npm start command. double dot double dash, sorry, and now set it to prefix app. What does it mean? Like it will hook an executable, which is the start command, but from this app as a prefix, from the app folder only, it will link this app router. So once we run this, what will happen? I think every file has been saved. So let's click on enter, and it will not only trigger the CDS service, it also hook the app router, which will eventually link this XSUAA, which will linked over here in the private.json, and it will listen in port 5000 as it is now showing. So let's run it in a new private window so that it will offer a login page. You see this 5000, it will come back to this login, routing back to login. So we have to log into this BTP account. Let's enter the password, and it is supposed to route back to the service, but unfortunately it will not work. Okay, at this current time when I'm designing or recording this session, unfortunately it doesn't work. It says bad gateway. So that is the thing I just also mentioned. Well, and run this one, the step 6, we have already covered it, and you'll see this BTP interim issue and the bad gateway. But now we have to do this too. We have two alternatives now to test this application successfully. So though BTP is not working fine, still we'll be able to test our application. Opened the Postman, and this is the service that I should test first. So run this service with a CDS watch command. Yeah, this is the service. So if I just click on that, it is still not working. You see, unauthorized. So what we'll do, we'll just let's take this authors first. Okay, not the book, because book does a different role and we have not added any role yet. So to do that, let's go back to the Postman and paste this URL. If I run over here, it will also say the same thing, that unauthorized, no difference. But what we'll do now, we'll attach the token, and that token would be, the type will be auth 2.0. Let's put down a little below, and we'll be adding certain grant type as password credentials. The access token URL, we have to set it up something like this, but I think I need to change it. 1 second. Let's get the details of the XSUAA service from here. CF service key, which the XSUAA created, app XSUAA auth, and the key was default. So what will happen, it will give or return back the generated key information. So here, that is the URI. I need to check this URL. Yeah, so this is the URI. So copy this URI, and here we have to paste back to this, followed by or added by auth token. Okay, so this is, we need to add it up. And now we have to add the client ID, client secret. So this information you don't try, okay, because in your case it will be different, and I'll be deleting this service soon because it's the confidential details. So I need to get the client secret and client ID. So this is my client ID. So put this client ID and client secret also from here till here. So that will be the client secret. And now you have to add your BTP username and password, and finally get new access token. Yeah, so now authentication complete, when the password was incorrect. So we click on proceed, this token gets generated. I'm using this token now. Okay, so this token is actually added to the header of my request. So if I now try author, what will happen? it is not supposed to give 401, but it will give 200. Okay, excellent. But this is all sort of, data that I'm able to see now from this request. But if I just try with the books, let's see what happens. If I click on send, it's 403 forbidden. Why? Because authentication is successful, but the role is not added. So that's why the 403 forbidden is receiving. So let's add the role also to the user ID. Okay. So what you have to do, we have to add this role, which is USA_user, to the role collection, and that role collection we need to link with the user, the BTP user that we should try with the Postman. So I'm in my BTP account with the trial sub account. Here I have this role collection. So let's create a new role collection called cap demo or cap role. Okay, and this is the role we have created, cap role. So get into this and let's edit it, and now go for an F4 and put called USA user, and this is what the XS app name we created, followed by this is the generated one. Select it and click on add. So this role is added to this role collection, but we also need to add the SAP user ID. So ID is meet my user ID. I just want to add and click on save it. So I have added a role as well as the user to my role collection. Right. So now let's retry the same thing for the books. Role is available. So the token already generated based on the role. So we need to regenerate once again with a new token, and that token you need to attach as a fresh because we have changed the role. And now click on send. Ideally it should be 200 because with the new token, awesome. Now we are able to see all the book details successfully. Now let's remove these catalogs and let's go back to the base root. And if you click on this preview, you see this static page is being shown. But the problem is we cannot test this application, Fury application from here, because it is not a server. Postman is just a client. It is not hosting any file server. So we cannot test this application, but we can test our services up and running fine because we have attached the token manually. So now we'll try the second alternate where Approuter will run locally, and we'll use now end-to-end this Fury application also, and we'll bypass the BTP problem. Let's do that now. The second option is we have to run the Approuter locally, and it will not look for the token credentials from the BTP, but within this project itself, and that is the file called default environment.json, where you have to attach those environment variables that are linked to the application, right? But the thing is, the application is not yet deployed to BTP cloud. So obviously that environment variables we cannot fetch now. So let's deploy this application first. Now there are little challenges because the mta.yml file, we need to adjust a little things over here. So the first thing is we have to change this XS app name. It should be XS app. So that is the XS app name. Second thing is the resources, which was cap bookshop demo, that is not actually available in the BTP. What happened? We didn't deploy this application so far in the BTP. We were all trying from the local system by creating the services from the CLI. Now, when we'll deploy this application as a regular process using mta.yml, we need to create an mtar object, and that mtar will be deployed to BTP. So this mta file is very important. That is the deployment descriptor. So whatever the artifacts we have created manually, the same artifacts we need to link to over here. Now not the problem. Let's check the private.json. So this is what we created as the database, right? So go to mta.yml. So this particular cap bookshop demo, that is demo db, is not the database for us. Rather, it should be something else, right? It should be something with a different name that we just seen. So that is cap HANA dev, right? So similar way, this is another demo db. Have to change it to demo dev, and this is also we need to change. Okay, so this is the first thing, that the database we need to link to. The second thing is we need to change the authentication part. So authentication is, this is not what we are using. We are using cap XSUAA, right? Cap XSUAA -auth. So this is what the service that we have created, correct? That we have created, that we can also again check in our private.json file. I know this is a little bit complicated, but I believe you are able to follow along, because we are just changing what we actually created. So this is what the file and the service that we created. So obviously that service we need to also link with our mta.yml, so that when I'll deploy it, it able to find it all the services in the BTP, and it will not complain for anything to recreate or not available, something like that. A few to add, for example, here to change, and that pretty much, because we are using the managed service everywhere. Manage means if it is not there, it will create. If it is available, then it will not create, but it will just update or adjust. So the MTA part is done. So let's save it. And now we have to create the mtar file. So let's go to package.json, and we'll need to add two more scripts over here. So one is the build script, where we'll be using the mvt build to create the mtar. And once the mtar is done, then we'll be using the deploy command to deploy this corresponding application back to the cloud. So let's run npm run build. So the build process is complete, and you can see this cap bookshop demo, this 1.0.0 mtar file been created. So as per this package.json, we now good to run this particular command called deploy, so that the files will now be deployed to BTP. So npm run deploy. So it will now pick this particular file, and it will start pushing the application to BTP. So wait for some time. It says this process finished, and our application is now deployed to cloud, and it says it's available, started and available in this particular route. So let's go back to our BTP account, go to trial system once again, trial sub account, and you need to go to the space, and we'll see these three applications now. And it is available as bookshop demo and the service. So backend and frontend things both are working. I mean, Approuter and the backend service is working. This will be stopped because once the DB HDI things are all over, the database, everything is adjusted. This DB deployer is no more active. So that makes sense. So let's click on this, and if I go over here, again, it ideally should try to log in. If it's already having the session cookie, then it will not, but it will just come back over here. And now here is a problem, because while I created this backend, the front-end Fury element application, we didn't add the application as a part of the MTA. That's something we didn't select from the wizard. So that's the reason this is not available over here. But still we have this certain backend service, but if we go to books, it is still not working, something wrong, right? I mean, even we deploy to BTP, it is not working. That's fine, not an issue. So let's go back to our trial account, but this time we'll go to environment variables, and we'll see something called vcap service. So we'll copy this enter vcap service, till here, I guess, and go back to our application default. In the app we have this default environment.json, and after this array we'll just paste this out. I think extra one curly brace we have taken. I've just pasted everything, enter, which is containing this XSUAA part. So let's save it. Now the thing is, we will not run the serious bind executable command, but we'll do something different this time. So after we added this pickup service, so what will happen, we'll basically run this Approuter locally. So let's get into this app folder now. npm run start, because we are not binding serious binding executable anymore, because we are just trying the alternate route. What will happen, Approuter is running, and it will now take all the details of this XSUAA from this default environment.json, and it will not go to BTP anymore, and listening to port 5000. But the thing is, the backend service is not up and running. It's just Approuter. So the service is still not up and running. So go to the second terminal and run cds watch command with profile mode once again and hybrid. So it's up and running. So what to do? So let's go to a new private window so that we can check the Approuter, which is listening on port 5000. The Approuter is listening. I deleted, go to the login page, and now it will go back to the 4004, though it is listening to still Approuter, but is pointing to 4004 with this default environment.json with the destination part. All great. So now the application is also available. If I click on application and if I just try to access, we can test it now. The application is now coming. Click on go, and the authors are coming. Awesome. But we are only eligible to see the book details where there is an USD as a currency. So click on that first service and let's see any book details available. No available, but earlier it was available in the episode 5 we have seen. So let's go to the third one, which is 150, because we know for 150 we have 2 USD book details, and voila, you see this one, right? So not only the front end but also similarly the back end, it's also working, and we'll see working with this USD. So this is the alternate route, and though BTP having some interim problem now, as you have seen the bad gateway, still with this two approach, we are all good, all set. And hopefully this video was informative to you like others. If you like this discussion and want to see more this kind of videos in future, make sure you subscribe my channel, set the bell icon on so that you get intimated the moment I upload a new content to you. Thanks for watching. Stay in touch and we'll connect soon in the next episode.